be enjoying themselves immensely, courtesy of John McKenna, over the next few days. Hello, John.
Hello, John.
You're in the final stages of Between Your Love and Mine. It's nearly ready to go.
It is, after weeks and weeks of rehearsals, and we still have another couple of days of rehearsal to go, but we're looking forward to the opening on Thursday night in Visual in Carlow, which is sold out, and we have the President, Michael D. Higgins, is coming, and the Canadian Ambassador will be there, so that's going to be really exciting for us, and a wonderful honour. But yeah, all of the weeks of work are finally on the verge now of performance.
Now, you got this idea quite a while ago, but fortunately you got it to a stage where Leonard could see it and approve it when he was still with us.
Yeah, I got the idea early last summer that I wanted to do this Requiem in memory of young people who had died, and I approached Leonard with the idea, and we talked back and forward about it, and he said, send me a draft of what you had in mind, and I did, and then there were a couple of bits and pieces of tweaking, and there was one poem, a new poem of his, which had never been published, which he allowed me to include in the text of it. And finally, just on the 23rd of October of last year, I got the okay from him. He said, go ahead. Yeah, I'm very happy with the script. And that was just sort of 3 weeks before he died. So less than 3 weeks, actually, before he died, yeah.
A Requiem with now an extra meaning in it.
Yes.
What focused your mind? Because it's something we hear so much about. There are so many young people who are dying. It's one of these curses of this century we're in.
It is, and there were a number of young people over the last 2 years whom we had known personally, but I was also aware of that kind of almost a plague that seems to be sweeping across the country at the moment. I have to say, I wasn't aware of this. I mean, it's when I was a kid, which would be 50 years ago now, I would have been 14. I don't have any memory. Now, maybe this was happening, and just it was hushed up. But certainly, I don't have a memory of this level of young people dying that we have now. I just don't.
I think, while if anything like that did happen, it was in those days hushed up. I think you're totally right. But the frequency is, I think, of a completely different order. It was almost unthinkable, if not unthinkable then.
Yeah. It
appears to have now become an option for young people.
It does, yeah. I have to agree with you on that one. Funny, we have a leaving cert in our house at the moment, and I was talking to her last week about. I mean, the pressure is not. I'm not talking about the leaving cert here, about that leading to people's taking that course of action. But again, looking back, I did my leaving cert in 1970, and I genuinely don't remember that huge pressure. And I know at that stage, if you had group cert, you could get a job. If you had inter-cert, you could certainly get a job. If you had leaving cert, you were virtually guaranteed a job. And getting into college was much easier. But my heart goes out to people at the moment in terms of the pressures that seem to be on them and the pressures that they seem to put on themselves. I find it extraordinary. And as you said, unfortunately, then one of the options that people seem to take as a given option is to take that course, which is very, very, very sad, because life is so precious. The older you get, the more precious it becomes.
Absolutely, every single day of it, we take them one at a time and enjoy them. Now, the performance you're putting on, can you describe it to me? Because it's part musical, part theatrical.
When I approached Leonard, I said to him that I would like to construct something that would follow the course of a Requiem Mass, which would follow that outline, but that I only wanted to use his words. And he had done back in the 1980s a book called The Book of Mercy, which was a book of prayer. So I asked him if we could take some material from that, and then I got this new poem which seemed to fit very, very wonderfully with it. So really what it is it's a theatrical piece which follows the course of a Requiem Mass. The music is all of Leonard Cohen's, the readings are all of Leonard Cohen's. There are two readers on stage who, as there would be at a Mass, there are three characters on stage who sing. There's a celebrant, and as I was working on it, a friend of mine who was a minister in the Church of Ireland, he resigned from his ministry because he had lost his faith. He just didn't believe in anything anymore, and I thought that's a really interesting situation to be in. So the celebrant, sung by Eric Butler, is this guy who's going through the motions and feeling the responsibility of performing this Requiem Mass, but having lost his faith, and that comes across through the songs. And then there are two other characters on stage who are singers, Katie Jakes and Shane Sullivan, who are singing the parts of the mother and father of a young person who has died. So the only dialogue, I suppose, that happens is sung. It's the songs of Leonard Cohen telling the story of these two people, their relationship with each other, and the story of this man who is celebrating this Mass. And then the readings, which are the readings that you might find in a Requiem Mass, but they're readings from Leonard Cohen's work. So that's the construct. And then there's a 5-piece band who are on stage as well.
I've one little bit of one of the readings here. We'll just play it.
My time is running out, and still I have not sung the true song, the great song. I admit that I seem to have lost my courage. A glance in the mirror and glimpse into my heart makes me want to shut up forever. Why do you lean me here, Lord of my life? Lean me at this table in the middle of the night, wondering how to be beautiful.
Wondering how to be beautiful. And when did he write that, or did you write that?
No, he wrote everything that's in it is written by Leonard, and that poem was written about 6 weeks before he died. So it has a huge. It's got a huge impact. It was a poem that he sent to me, and I thought I was going to use it anyway, but it suddenly took on a huge importance given what happened. It was one of a number of poems that he wrote in the weeks before he died. He was quite ill, but I certainly I don't think he expected that the end was as close as it happened to be. But I just felt that was a piece that we couldn't not use, that it fitted perfectly in the context of the work, but it also has that extra sadness, darkness about it, because it's a poem that he wrote himself in those weeks before he died.
And like many artists, he's there thinking, I haven't done the piece of work I'm capable of.
I find
and
that
course,
extraordinary,
when you look at the body of work over 40 years of it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's probably a reflection on the humility of the man, in the sense that having written what he had written in terms of poems, songs, novels, the lot, he had done it, and he was on them in the crest of a wave in terms of popularity, and yet there he is at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, sitting at his kitchen table thinking, I've done nothing.
Yeah.
Haven't achieved anything. It's all, I still haven't reached what it is that I wanted to reach, which kind of does it. I suppose it sums up the human condition, really, as people get to a point in their lives where they think, God, I could have done so much more.
And yet, I mean, so many artists do their great work in their 20s, really. And of course, Cohen didn't really start singing, I think, until he was 30.
That's right, he was in his 30s, you're right, absolutely, yes, yeah, because before that he had been working as a poet and as a novelist, and wasn't making a living, and thought, if I go to Nashville, I might write some songs for some people and make a few bob. Yeah, absolutely.
But unusually, while he had a very, very fertile early time, he never dried up.
No, he didn't. And do you know, that's what I loved about him. That for me, just apart at all from the show or anything else, I loved the fact that he kept writing, and he didn't try to write when he was in his 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s. He didn't try to write about teenage love. He wrote about what it was like to be 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and it was like somebody kind of sending back messages to you, from 20 years ahead of you, saying, this is what it's like when you get to this point, this is what it's like when you get to this point. I mean, I suppose that's his music, and his lyrics were so adult in that sense that they reflected on what it was that he was going through and people go through at a certain point in their lives.
I do find it extraordinary that in the very final chapter he's still saying, there's work there that I haven't managed. I haven't done I'm sure he would love to be here he would have come over, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, actually, there's a lovely note we have in the programme from his manager and also his executor, who did a lovely piece for the programme for the show, and he talked about the fact that he would love to have been here, and that he hopefully is here in spirit. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to have thought that he might have come over. It would have depended on his health, obviously, and other
depended on all sorts of things. Yeah. But given his health, he was never off the road. I mean,
no, he wasn't. No. And I think, again, I remember him saying that to me, that he felt it was just wonderful that the last couple of years of his life that he got to be on the road, and that it gave him a whole new energy, because he'd gone through that dip where he'd lost all his money a couple of years earlier, and the only way to recoup it was to go back on the road. And suddenly the last 4, 5, 6 years of his life were full of energy, and It's extraordinary that it was almost as if when the touring ended, that the adrenaline just ran out, and there came, the health then began to deteriorate just within a year of finishing his touring.
Now you're touring, you're starting off in Visual this Thursday and Friday, and then you're on the 20th you're in Donaghmason, Portlaoise, then you're around other parts of the country. June 23rd you're in the Watergate here.
That's right.
And June 30th you're in Naas, which some of our listeners might, and in between you're in Bray and you're in Galway. You're performing in it too, aren't you,
Yes,
John?
I am. I'm one of the two readers. But I mean, the major performances really are from the three singers, and we have a phenomenal band. We have Aisling Carter who's done all of the arrangements, and wonderful arrangements. She's on keyboard. Then we've two cellists, a violinist, and for once a drummer, a quiet drummer. David Day. He's one of the few quiet drummers I've ever met.
Well, Leonard had a drummer.
He did, absolutely. He did. He sure did, yeah.
And any particular songs that you want to mention, or is it come along and see what's there?
I really think the whole thing fits together as a piece, and we spent a lot of time back and forth with Leonard working on that, and really I think any of the songs really it sits as a piece which I hope tells the story of the three people who are on stage, the three central characters, and how, and I suppose one thing to say finally is that it does end on a note of hope. It ends with a song of Leonard's called You Got Me Singing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and it ends on that note of hope, that despite the fact that things do go wrong, that there is hope at the end of the road.
People will be walking out of Visual on Thursday and Friday night humming that one.
I hope so.
John McKenna, wish you every success with it. It's a great idea, and inspired by something which is a real problem that we're all conscious about. But to have had the privilege to work with the man and to have his blessing, you must be feeling very pleased.
I do. I am, and very proud, and just sad that he's not there to see or hear it, at least. But in spirit, as the manager said, in spirit, hopefully.
He knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's John McKenna. Between Your Love and Mine, keep an eye out for it. Visual Thursday and Friday. I think you're sold out Thursday, and then it'll be in Portlaoise, and it'll be in Kilkenny in the Watergate, and it'll be in Naas, and it'll be in just about everywhere else in between. Well done, John McKenna. I think it is going to be a lovely piece of work.
KCL or Live with Harper's Restaurant and Bar at Kilkenny Hibernian Hotel. Harper's, the perfect venue for family get-togethers and milestone celebrations. KilkennyHibernianHotel.com.